Hey, I'm Domenico Montanaro, Senior Political Editor and Correspondent at NPR.
And I'm Danielle Kurtzleben, political reporter. And here's what you need to know about the New Hampshire Democratic Primary.
This victory here is the beginning of the end for Donald Trump.
Danielle, big takeaways. I mean, you have Sanders winning. He kind of did pretty well in Iowa, too.
I mean, we have New Hampshire and Iowa looking relatively similar in terms of the top two. We have Sanders and Buttigieg locked in a tight race. Of course, Amy Klobuchar is one of the biggest stories of the night with her third place finish. Maybe one big takeaway for me is that you had that bang, 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 1, 2, 3 of a pretty progressive candidate, a candidate who's somewhere between progressive and moderate, and a candidate who has very much positioned herself as a moderate, which to me it just signals how fractured the Democratic Party is right now.
Yeah, and I think because of that, a big takeaway for me is that Bernie Sanders has the inside track for the nomination at this point. I mean, things could change, but right now the moderates in the Democratic Party, who look like the majority, are not coalesced around a single candidate. We saw a precipitous nosedive from former Vice President Joe Biden. He finished 5th tonight.
Right.
Wasn't even in New Hampshire, wound up going to South Carolina. And Elizabeth Warren, a really disappointing showing for her.
Senator Sanders and Mayor Buttigieg are both great people, and either one of them would be a far better president than Donald Trump. I respect them both.
One of the things that stood out to me early on in the night, it looked like a potentially good night for Klobuchar, and it turned out to be that way because in the exit polls, it showed that half of all New Hampshire primary voters said they made up their mind in the last few days, and half of New Hampshire primary voters said that the debate was very important to them.
Right. I think one other big takeaway that I would bet we both have is that for a couple of the candidates here, particularly Buttigieg and Klobuchar, there's very much a sense of now what going forward, because you have two more diverse states coming up, particularly South Carolina, which is a heavily African-American state. Klobuchar and Buttigieg are not polling that well, to put it mildly, with black voters right now. So it is a big question, what kind of momentum do they have coming out of New Hampshire?
Klobuchar said last week they raised about $2.5 million, probably her best week of the entire cycle. And with that money, what'd they do with it? They put it into a slate of ads in Nevada. One other thing I think we should come back to in New Hampshire and what happened tonight, turnout pretty high actually, which by the way I think is a big boon to the Sanders campaign, because one of the things that they've been promising was that they could turn out lots of voters. It didn't happen in Iowa, so there were questions about his candidacy and his campaign. How much enthusiasm was there really? Well, looks like they got one in New Hampshire.
That's true. On the other hand, yes, there was pretty good turnout for him, as you just said. Then again, this was not a super crazy decisive victory for Bernie Sanders. He squeaked out a win over Pete Buttigieg. He did win though, but it means that there is nothing decisive to really rest on here. It's still going to be a fight.
Well, thanks for watching. I'm Domenico Montanaro, Senior Political Editor and Correspondent at NPR.
And I'm Danielle Kurtzleben, political reporter.